What if I told you that behind sterile white walls and smiling doctors, the darkest crimes in human history were committed, not by soldiers or tyrants, but by scientists in white coats? What if agony itself was rebranded as research, and the victims had no idea they were the subjects? This wasn't a horror movie. It was real life, funded by governments, led by doctors, and buried by history. They called it science. But what they did to the human body and the mind will make you question what it truly means to be human. History has always celebrated the breakthroughs of science, but hidden beneath those discoveries lies a shadow no one wants to talk about. Times when ethics didn't exist, when the line between genius and pure evil completely vanished. During wars, chaos became the perfect excuse. Governments demanded results and scientists obeyed. Men who once swore an oath to heal began turning human beings into test subjects, slicing, freezing, infecting, all in the name of progress. And the world only discovered the truth decades later, when the damage was already done. But that's the terrifying part, because some of those experiments didn't end in secret labs of the past. They just evolved. Our descent begins with one of the darkest places on Earth, Unit 731. In the frozen lands of Manchuria during World War II, Japanese doctors created what they called a research center. But behind its walls, it was a factory of death. Prisoners were infected with deadly diseases just to watch how their bodies decayed. Some were frozen alive, their limbs shattered to study frostbite. Others were dissected without anesthesia, all under the title of scientific advancement. Thousands died, and the people responsible called it data collection. But Japan wasn't alone. In Nazi Germany, a different nightmare unfolded. Doctors working under Hitler carried out experiments on prisoners, twins, children, and pregnant women. They injected dyes into their eyes to see if they could change their color. They tested the limits of human endurance in freezing tanks and pressure chambers. And when the victims screamed in pain, the researchers calmly took notes. You'd think the horror would have ended there, but it didn't. Across the ocean, in the United States, a project called MK Ultra began during the Cold War. The CIA secretly tested LSD and psychological torture on citizens, trying to control the human mind. Victims had no idea why they were hallucinating, losing memory, or breaking down mentally, because they were never told they were part of an experiment. And perhaps one of the most chilling of all, the monster study in Iowa, 1939. Researchers experimented on orphan children to study speech and stuttering. Half the kids were told their speech was terrible, even when it wasn't. The result? Lifelong trauma, shattered confidence, and permanent speech problems, all for the sake of research. Each experiment carried the same message, that human lives were disposable when labeled as science. But here's the most haunting part. Most of these scientists walked free. You'd expect justice after all that horror, but what came next was even darker. Most of the scientists behind these monstrous acts never faced punishment. Many were quietly protected, even rewarded by powerful nations. After World War II, dozens of Japan's Unit 731 doctors were secretly brought to the United States in exchange for their research data. The same happened with Nazi scientists through an operation called Paperclip. Men who tortured thousands were suddenly wearing clean suits, working on rockets and medical breakthroughs for the very governments that condemned their crimes. The world wanted progress so badly, it didn't care where the knowledge came from. Evil had simply changed its address. And that's when you realize this wasn't history's mistake. It was a trade. Human lives were exchanged for scientific advantage, and if that happened once, what's stopping it from happening again? When the world finally learned about these experiments, outrage wasn't enough to erase the pain, but it forced humanity to look in the mirror and question how far we're willing to go in the name of discovery. The result was the creation of new ethical codes like the Nuremberg Code, demanding informed consent and basic human rights in research. Yet, even with these rules, whispers of secret projects and hidden testing never stopped. Because if the past has proven anything, it's that human curiosity doesn't always come with conscience. And maybe, somewhere in a locked lab today, another experiment is already underway. We just haven't found out yet. Subscribe.